Hey, hi, Angel here. I just want to brag on my Prius for a second. I'm in my new to me 2010 Prius, and I had to put oil in it for the first time a few days ago when I was on my way up to Colorado. I've only had it a couple weeks, and I was kind of disappointed that it seemed to be burning oil, going through oil, much like maybe even worse than my 2005 Prius did for the last couple years that I had it, and it wasn't getting the greatest gas mileage, like 30 to 33 miles per gallon. And granted, I was going kind of fast for some of the trip, but still I was a little concerned, and so I was paying extra attention. And when I just got in the car after it sitting for a few days to drive home, and was keeping an close eye on the gas mileage, so I went a little, just about 350 miles from the last tank, and then because I was trying to get close to the end, to really give it a fair shot to measure the miles per gallon. So I stopped for gas, and I thought, well, better double check the oil, even though I just put 2 quarts in it last tank, because it's a new car to me, and I wanted to see. And lo and behold, when I opened the hood to check the oil, I discovered that I did not put back the oil cap last time when I put those 2 quarts in, days and many hundreds of miles ago. So there was oil dripping all over actually, surprisingly, not all over, but over a fair amount of the hood and a fair amount of the engine. I had oil dripping, and it was just about completely empty. The thing is, I want to both brag and not brag, because one concerning thing is that this Prius has so many warnings and lights, and yet none for you left your oil cap off, which would be handy, even though that's never happened to me before. Hopefully it will never happen again. And to brag on it, though, didn't seem to get hot. I don't know if it was even throwing that oil out until sometime later. It got just over 40 miles to the gallon for the first time, and I think I've only put 4 tanks in it since I got it, because I just drove it home and drove it around town a little bit, and then back up here to Colorado. Still, point is that it ran really great with the oil cap off. And I'm not trying to suggest that you should run with the oil cap off. I'm just saying it didn't blow up, it didn't overheat. It probably was getting close to, like, had I gone much further, I suspect, because of the way the oil was freshly dripping, I think that it just started to blow out of there. Although, it was probably blowing out of there in spurts. And see, when I first started up this evening on my way home, I smelled oil distinctly, burning oil from the engine, but I had spilled a little when I put the 2 quarts in, so I thought it was just that. And then when I stopped, I smelled it quite a bit, and it started smoking, and that was my first clue, because it shouldn't be smoking from just a little bit that I spilled. And sure enough, it wasn't. It was the whole engine full, spit out all over my engine compartment. And so far so good. So I spent half an hour wiping it off as best I could, cleaning it up. Didn't seem caked on yet, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, it hadn't overheated. And now I will give it another fair shake. I'm tempted to pull over and double check the cap, but I know it didn't unscrew itself. I know the most logical explanation is because I was really under a lot of stress. I was kind of in shock from my dog passing away the day before, and so I was, in the middle of a long trip, had checked the oil. They didn't have any of the right type for this car at the gas station, so I had to go into town to the AutoZone. It took me quite a while, and I was kind of in a hurry. So I was a little flustered, and then I remember I had to go in and get a funnel, because I forgot mine from my other car, and my tools, and then I topped it off with probably about I bought a big 5-quart jug, thankfully, because then I needed more of it. But I put, I think, about 2 quarts in, and then it was right at the right level, a little on the high side, which is probably to my benefit now that I see that then I drove off with the cap off. So anyway, good old Prius. Didn't die, still getting me home, still seems happy as a clam. I'm curious to see whether the increase in gas mileage was somehow related to the lack of pressure in the engine, although that makes no sense at all. But I will probably give an update here in the near future on my new-to-me Prius. If you have any questions or comments, if you have a Prius and you want to share something in the comments for those of us who look stuff up, I've learned a lot. I had a 2005 right before this one, and I had just started learning how to fix it myself, and then a friend of mine offered to help me trade it in, auction it off, and get me an upgrade. So that's what I'm in now, a 2010 with a few fewer miles, not a whole lot fewer, it's got high miles. Anyway, we shall see what we shall see. It's all part of the grand adventure, right? Don't forget to put your oil cap back on when you check your oil or put oil in your engine. You don't have to take the cap off to check your oil, obviously. But when you put oil in it, and I know this is obvious, I'm just saying it because I feel silly for doing that. Can't really believe I did it, and I feel super lucky that my car still seems fine. That's what I got to say about that. Priuses are tricky, but pretty reliable overall. I read somewhere on a blog that they're like appliances, and indeed, so far, even though my old one threw a lot of warning lights at me and wanted a lot of TLC that I didn't give it, it never left me hanging. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this one. I'm curious to know what you think of Priuses. Let me know in the comments. And until next time, peace, prosperity, positivity, and playfulness.